So many times when I post about what happened during the pandemic, during COVID and everything else, people are like, Garrett, you got to move on. And I can't move on. And the reason being is this because they did not learn their lesson. All these folks who attacked us, who censored us, these bureaucrats, elected official, government officials, it just goes on and on. And I can't let it go because these people just want to sweep everything underneath the rug. And I'm not going to allow it. Those who are accountable should be held responsible because we had a gentleman, Scott Galloway, who's a professor at New York University Stern School of Business. He went on Bill Maher's show and he was talking about, yeah, he made a mistake and we should give grace and everything else. And we should just learn from this. You're not learning from this because you're doing the same gosh darn thing with the vaccine and everything else. And all of us who are standing up saying, well, wait a minute, this vaccine is doing a lot more damage than good. And oh, we're conspiracy theorists and everything else. So what this guy says, I'm going to show it here in a minute, means nothing to me because you aren't learning your lesson. And the problem with what happened during COVID is they implemented all sorts of policy. And once you implement policy, then it's very hard to change it. And they did the same thing with the Patriot Act. So I will do everything I can to expose these folks. And you just don't get out of jail free card. You ruin people's lives. You killed people. It didn't have to be this way. And so I'm going to go down the list after you watch these two videos because a lot of stuff's coming to the surface and a lot of the crazy leftists who were very vocal during the pandemic with canceling folks, canceling people like me, attacking people's businesses. My business got attacked, attacking medical professionals who are actually standing up against this hot garbage. They're all starting to get very quiet. Like, well, we need forgiveness now. You're not going to get it until you learn the gosh darn lesson. And you haven't learned it. So let's tune in right now to the Bill Maher Show.
Well, I was on the board of my kid's school during COVID. I wanted a harsher lockdown policy, and in retrospect, I was wrong. The damage to kids of keeping them out of school longer was greater than the risks. But here's the bottom line. Myself, our great people, the CDC, I'd like to thank the governor, we were all operating with imperfect information, and we were doing our best. So
well,
so let's learn from it. Let's learn from it. Let's learn from it. Let's hold each other accountable. But let's bring a little bit of grace and forgiveness in the shit show that was COVID.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to. And this is why. You're saying that you are operating, this is his quote, operating with imperfect information, and you were just doing your best. Garbage. Bullshit. You weren't doing your best. You were only listening to the information that fueled your crazy lockdown narrative, that shut down our schools, that shut down our businesses, that masked up our kids for eternity. Remember the insanity, right? You can't touch a gas station pump because you'll die of COVID. And it was okay to contaminate your mask as you're pulling it down to take a bite and then putting it back up. It was all insane. It didn't make any sense. So no, you weren't operating with imperfect information, clown. You were choosing which information to believe in because people like me and other doctors were standing up and going, hey, there's a whole hell of a lot better way to deal with this. There's video footage of me saying this, that lockdowns are going to do more harm than good, that the mental health crisis that you're going to put us in, especially our children, is going to be a whole hell of a lot worse than a virus, which we have over a 99% chance of surviving if infected. We said all that. I got crucified for coming on in the beginning, way before I started the group that went viral with 400,000 people in 4 weeks, just telling people, hey, strengthen your immune system. Go out and exercise, walk, get fresh air, vitamin C, vitamin D, get your fruits and vegetables. And they crucified me in the beginning, called me a quack. This guy's not a real doctor. Well, come to find out, I was right. And so, no, you weren't operating with imperfect information, clown. You were choosing which information to believe because me and others were standing up screaming from the rooftops and we got censored and we got our platforms taken down because we were spreading misinformation and our information would have saved lives, thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives if you would have just did the common sense things in the beginning. Now, listen what Joe Rogan and Elon Musk had to talk about, because again, people like me who are questioning the ventilators in the beginning were going to spread COVID over everyone. Well, look what they're starting to find out and what we already knew back then.
Well, 80% of the people they put on ventilators died.
Yeah. So, in fact, I actually posted about that because I called doctors in Wuhan and said, what are the biggest mistakes that you made on the first wave? This was early on. And they said, we put far too many people on intubated ventilators. So then I actually posted on Twitter at the time and said, hey, what I'm hearing from Wuhan is that they made a big mistake in putting people on intubated ventilators for an extended period. And that this is actually what is damaging the lungs, not COVID. It's the treatment. The cure is worse than the disease. And people yelled at me and said, I'm not a doctor. I'm like, yeah, but I do make spaceships with life support systems. What do you do?
I like that.
I twiddle knobs. I'm like, okay, great.
Again, all this is coming out. Everything that we've been saying from the beginning. So no, you don't get grace because you haven't learned your lesson, because you're going to do the same gosh darn thing, which is a definition of insanity, and expect a different result. The governmental officials, these bureaucrats, elected officials, even the folks who defame people like me and attacked our businesses. I lost half my business because I stood up against the lockdowns. I still haven't recovered. Social media companies, you all should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law because you censored good quality information that would have saved lives. And you deplatform folks like me, who people start actually coming on and having conversation and sharing stories. You deplatform. Social media companies should all be held accountable. Hospitals with their protocols. There's lawsuits now going in because they were refusing to use hydroxychloroquine and other therapeutics, right? Big pharma, which we all know is corrupting the CDC, which corrupted the doctors, which killed our patients. Governors who put COVID-infected people in the elderly homes like Cuomo, Newsom, Governor Whitmer. See, all these folks should be held accountable. There should be trials and see if there was intent. Were they hiding information? We don't know. But these folks shouldn't get a get out of jail free card. And I'm not going to give them grace because they've ruined people's lives. They've ruined people's businesses. They have ruined the mental health of our children, the education of our children. They killed people by not getting them the proper therapeutics. And now they're killing people with all the side effects, with all the stuff that they're giving folks. So I'm not going to say it because I'll get deplatformed again. But I'm not going to let up until these folks are held accountable. There should be trials and there should be a jury. And then these folks who are in these positions should be thrown in prison if there was malintent. They should be never allowed to run for office again and represent we the people. All this needs to be put out because we deserve to know the truth, and we deserve to know who was corrupted and who was doing the wrong thing, because this affected everyone. Everyone. It was a clown show. We all can agree with that. But I am not going to give grace, and I'm not going to forgive these folks when they ask for it because they haven't learned the gosh darn lesson. They say they have, but they haven't, because they continue to show their cards on who they really are. And just because you feel a little guilt right now, you're not changing. You're not changing. You haven't proven to us that you changed. Maybe one day you have. And when that shows up, maybe I'll forgive you. I don't know. Maybe I have some work on myself to forgive these people because I was on the other side of this, the negative side, the evil side, and got attacked, and everything that I built got crumbled down. I can't let up. I won't let up. So I'll continue to expose this stuff every chance I get. And when I hear, Garrett, you just need to move on from this, I won't back down from it because it's not the right thing to do. These folks who have had loved ones, I've had loved ones who died because of hospital protocol, right? People that I've talked to on the campaign trail have lost their businesses, their generational businesses, because of these unnecessary lockdowns. The mental health crisis that we still see with our children, everybody's children was affected, it's still affected. And they continue to push all this other garbage and indoctrination to our kids. And the alphabet mafia continues to force their beliefs down our kids' throats, taking away parental rights. You haven't learned your lesson. So you have to continue to fight back against this, stand up against this, call out the garbage. And that's what I'll continue to do, because I am not going to just let this be swept underneath the rug. There's so much corruption at every single level. And we have to continue to expose it. We have to continue to call them out. And we must never, ever, ever fall asleep on the watch again.